Hello, you guys. I want to do the next video talking about power supplies. With all of my machines, the first, second, and the third generation machines, if you're using a normal power supply with a clip cord or with a cable, I really recommend to try to find a power supply with a high amperage rating. Usually the highest amperage you can find is around 5 amps. An average power supply is around 3.5. The lower end is around 1.5 amps. A lot of times tattooers speak about voltages. Voltages are really only half the equation. You have your voltage times your amp rating equals your watts. That's how much power you're actually pushing to your machines. Low amps become a problem, especially when you're running high performance machines, like especially coils or a lot of the high tension rotaries, which are obviously almost all rotaries nowadays, mine included. You can think of amperage as being your torque. So if you have a higher torque, it's going to make the motor run easier. It's going to put a lot less strain on the motor. Especially when you're running larger magnets. With my machine, there's a lot of tension between the motor and the armature bar. So a higher amperage really does help the motor out a lot. That being said, however, my newest machine, I really did design it to be ran with batteries. And unfortunately, most batteries have a lower amperage rating. I would recommend trying to find the highest you can, but they're usually somewhere between 1 and 2 amps, which means you kind of have to work with the lower amperage a little bit. In my machine, that issue would be starting up or kicking over in the beginning because the amperage of the power supply is so low. It might need a little bit of help to get kicked over and start up. With the new machine though, however, it's a lot easier. All you have to do is remove the motor, start the motor, and then put the frame on as it's running. And that way it'll still be running. With the older generations machines, what you need to do is usually just pull down on the armature bar and it'll help it kick over. Just when you're starting up, you know, as soon as it's running, it's not an issue. But when I designed my new machine, I had a lot of, well, the third generation machine with the removable frame. I was thinking a lot about making it wireless, and to run wirelessly, of course, you need lithium batteries, and lithium is kind of a pain to travel with. It's kind of dangerous, you know, that's why it's not really, you have to be really careful when you're boarding airplanes that they want it always in your handbag just in case. And my thinking was if I had to have a battery for every single machine, then I'd have to have a bunch of batteries and a bunch of chargers, and it would just complicate things a lot, you know. So that was also one of the main issues or the reasoning behind making my new third generation with a removable motor, was that you're able to travel with just one motor, which means you use one or maybe two batteries as a backup, which is really not bad at all, you know. So I don't have any sort of deal or anything with batteries that companies. I could just recommend what I've been using. I haven't honestly tried too many different ones. I chose these ones because they're kind of small and they're cheap. This is from a company called Ambition. I think it's just a Chinese company known for making copies of machines, actually. I think this might actually be a copy of a Critical battery. I'm not too sure though, it looks very similar. But the price point on these is around 50 US dollars, I think. I've been using these now for maybe 2 years. I usually have at least 2 or 3 on hand. One of them is charging or charged up while the other one is being used. They last normally under normal tattooing conditions around 2 hours, 2.5. If I'm pushing a big magnet really hard, it's going to of course be shorter. The way I've been using them lately though is like, this is my motor unit, and I'll put the battery on facing the side, the outside, and then I'll take a piece of masking tape, and there's a nice flat spot on the motor here, and then I'll tape along the masking tape along that side of the motor and go around the battery about 1.5 times or so. And what that does is it keeps it from vibrating loose over time as I'm tattooing. And then after that, I take a normal machine bag and I'll stick it up into the upper corner of the bag like that, into the back corner, and then I'll take the bag and sort of fold it over. Take another piece of tape, tape around the bag, and this is to make sure that along the sides of the motor right here, there's no plastic hanging out. Otherwise, that's going to hit the armature bar. And then on the top, I normally just twist it a little bit and tape it down to the side. So it ends up looking like this. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works really good. And then the first time I stick my frame on, I kind of press it in a little bit and seat it. And now there's clear movement here. The screen is on the side, so I could turn it on here, go up and down with my voltage. And as I'm tattooing, I'm just removing this and swapping out my frames. When I designed these frames and motors, I put a little bit of a gap around here so that you can bag the motor. Yeah, so this is what I've been using lately, these batteries. Like I said, you could try any other battery out there. They should all work. One thing you do have to kind of be aware of is that on these batteries here, I actually had to round off the bottom of the battery a little bit, just like a millimeter down here, because when I stuck it onto the frame, it was barely touching the frame a little bit. So all I did was just take a little file and just round off that edge. But it's going to depend on the battery company that you're using. Like I said, if you're using a power supply, a higher amperage is better. But most days I'm using a battery just for the convenience of it. It took me a little while to get used to the balance of the battery. That's another reason why I like these ones, because they're short and they're pretty light. So it doesn't throw off the balance, especially when I'm whip shading or doing a kind of a quicker movement. Other than that, these new ones are RCA only right now, just because, like I said, they're really designed to be used with batteries. But there are people that are using like a cable, like a normal RCA cable to power them. Of course, it'll always work. All right, if you guys have any questions, just write in the comments below. Thank you.